All right. I am attempting to record this with my phone because the iPad's having issues, so we'll see what happens. Technology. This is Thursday, March 29th. We're in a regular class. We're going to be getting into Outsiders. The tie game this week was spring break, beach vacation stuff because spring break starts tomorrow or in a couple hours, depending on how you look at it. Book drive for B points does continue after spring break. You still can bring in stuff. And then Spirit Week was today. So you good if you're at home. If you're at home and you dressed up, send me a picture, and I'm more than happy to give you a point. If you're wanting to do the Greek mythology test, the corrections, you still can do that. It's not due until after Camp Tecumseh, and you're more than welcome to do those. You just have to print them off, do the fixing, and then each one you fix gets you a point back on. Unless you skipped questions, then you have to do the ones you skipped first. Then, real quick, if you have Camp Tecumseh questions, I was going to go through and answer those when we get into our next thing. Noonan?
How do we figure out counselors?
When you get to camp. So unless you know high schoolers who are counselors and they can tell you, otherwise you don't find out till you're at camp and you're going to see people holding up signs like this, and that's when you find out. You walk over there and you're like, hey, that's my counselor.
I already know my counselor. He's totally rad.
Done?
Oh.
It's good stuff.
Okay. Oh, so does the buses leave at 8:15? So we just gotta be at school at 8:15?
Because we have to start taking attendance and start running through things with you guys early. I think the buses leave like at between 8:45 and 9.
So like, alright.
Go between.
Good stuff. Lexi?
Did you say that like you matched our counselors of our personalities?
I tried to.
So do our counselors sleep in our cabin also like with us?
Different counselors do.
Are they really talkative?
Wait, they
Oh.
sleep in our and them more girl counselors than dude.
Yeah, most high school boys are losers. They don't do anything.
Oh, wait.
Except
if
for
I
Carson's
have
brother.
bad grades and I go into high school and I try to do this, that's like an automatic no.
Oh, no. Some of the kids I pair you up with were kids who are complete turds in junior high and then turn it around in high school are great kids. And so then sometimes I pair kids who I see good things for, and I'm like, hey, this is what you were in junior high, and you can become a great kid too. So it means that it is definitely possible. It means when you interview, I'm going to bring up your junior high years and make you pay for it.
Why?
But it does not mean it's impossible. People change. That's the whole point of why I teach the way I do is I want you to become a better person and
Why?
come back as a
I don't
counselor.
want to be in that.
It's about caring for kids or something. It's overrated.
Why?
It's like, what would be the 10 out of 10 best recommended time to come to school? Like, Dad, I want to drive you to school.
8:14.
8:14.
Ow.
Sure.
Okay.
Parthenia.
When do we come back to school?
On that Wednesday, we'll get here around 2 o'clock, and that's when your parents can take you home, or you can wait and ride the bus or anything like that. But as soon as we get back at 2 o'clock, you guys are welcome to get off the bus, go get in the car, and go home, and we're done with you.
Oh, bet.
We're fine with that.
So then we don't have to go home the next day? I'm just kidding.
Oh, do we
I'm low-key not going to say. You should have
Jake?
the extra
do
card.
we have track practice then?
Yeah, if you're on the track team, probably.
Oh,
in
yeah, I
that
can
case, you might be
make
able
Really?
to.
That sounds fair.
Yeah.
So I have to like sit there for like an hour?
Yeah, it
Dang it,
sucks for the
I
track
I'm gonna
teams.
go to 7th period and just do that.
Ha! Not interested.
With what we got through on the Outsiders, to pick back up with that, now I'll talk about it in the class. I want to save time there. Let's see, we got into this guy. You already know him through his voice because he was the voice of
Ellen knew me the
Perpendicular.
the Cars. Nicely done. So he was the doc from Cars on that one. He was also the one that made the salad dressing company, which you probably don't know.
Yes,
which
it
is
is.
really nice to do.
Yeah, you
I love
vinegar.
Well,
look at his eyes.
Hey, that's better than the kid first grade who said salad syrup. So whatever.
Salad syrup?
Kids are special.
That's cool.
Or stone.
Stop talking!
No!
Main kid telling
Pony boy.
us the story is Pony Boy, whose older brother is Soda Pop and Dairy. What is the name of the group of kids he hangs out with?
The greaser.
And that's where you get the greasers with the white shirts and the black leather jackets and all that.
Should have been
The white
And then the
Oh my
kids
god.
that beat them up are called
The
Sharpie. The curved sharks.
The untouchables. The Sarcies.
nice,
Oh, it's a
Socials,
sharks on West Side Story.
which stands for socials. They talk about the fact that they're driving around.
Rich kids.
They're the ones that are in the red Corvairs that show up and try to beat them up and
Corvairs?
stuff like that. It's in the car.
Corvette.
Then we got to the part where they had.
Moderate.
Oh yeah, because you guys had I forgot, I didn't get to teach you last time because of the whole video thing.
Oh, that's
And
what you
so
were in high school?
Madras, and that was the whole idea of what they were wearing at the time. We did get to the part with, you guys got a chance, he got beat up and they jumped him, and the smelling of the,
Yeah, to
Yeah, we
Tobacco,
got
old tobacco,
leather.
old
there was
leather.
old tobacco and the English leather. Nice.
Oh yeah, and then you spray it.
No, keep it
Yeah.
on the screen. No. I have a really good pun. It's like actually funny. Like, you know, like how it's Madras? Like you could use it, and it's like a girl with a dress. Like, don't touch my dress.
Nailed it. Alright, so jumping to page 7 was where we had left off after he had just gotten beat up and he was talking about all those kids who showed up to see him.
Wait, who saved him again?
All of those
Daryl,
friends,
his
Daryl
Jeep.
and Soda Pop and all those kids that were in his group came running up. I sat down again, rubbing my cheek where I'd been slugged the most. Derry jammed his fists in his pockets. They didn't hurt you too bad, did they? They did. I was smarting and aching and my chest was sore and I was so nervous. My hands were shaking and I wanted to start bawling, but you just don't say that. You just don't say that to Derry. I'm okay. Soda Pop came loping back. By then I figured all the noise I'd heard was the gang coming to rescue me. He dropped down beside me, examining my head. You got cut up a little, huh, Pony Boy? I looked at him blankly. I did? He pulled out a handkerchief, wet the end of his tongue, and pressed it gently against the side of my head. You're bleeding like a stuck pig. I am? Look. He showed me the handkerchief, reddened as if by magic. Did they pull a blade on you? I remembered the voice. You need a haircut, greaser? The blade must have slipped while he was trying to shut me up. Yeah. Soda is handsomer than anyone else I know. Not like Derry. Soda's movie star kind of handsome. The kind that people stop on the street to watch go by. He's not as tall as Derry. He's a little slimmer, but he has a finely drawn, sensitive face that somehow manages to be reckless and thoughtful at the same time. He's got dark gold hair that he combs back, long and silky and straight. And in the summer, the sun bleaches it to a shining wheat gold. His eyes are dark brown, lively, dancing, recklessly laughing eyes that can be gentle and sympathetic one moment and blazing with anger the next. He has Dad's eyes, but so is one of a kind. He can get drunk in a drag race or dancing without ever getting near alcohol. In our neighborhood, it's rare to find a kid who doesn't drink once in a while, but Soda never touches a drop. He doesn't need to. He gets drunk from just plain living. And he understands everybody. That part where they talk about him getting drunk without actually touching alcohol, it's more the idea that he's that fun-loving guy that's always having a good time, whereas some people, the only reason they have a fun time at a party is because they have to have alcohol because of poor choices. Soda just is that guy that's always smiling, always having a good time, always trying to make people laugh. Just happy.
Alcohol.
Yeah. Page 8.
So
Yep.
he's like me. Can I seriously?
Can I just listen and not read? Like, can I just listen?
Your back hurts really bad.
Okay, let's see that.
Hang on. I have a stick over here.
Mr. Brovick, can
You
I?
have a stick?
How many sticks do you
Can I have
have?
it after Ella?
What? Look, can I see that big pencil, please?
Alright.
That's so cool, Mr. Brovick.
Wait, are you itching?
No. My back feels
There you go. Let's see.
Mr. Brovick, wait, can I just listen to you not read? Like,
Yeah.
He looked at me more closely. I looked away hurriedly because, if you want to know the truth, I was starting to bawl. I knew I was as white as I felt, and I was shaking like a leaf. Soda just put his hand on my shoulder. Easy, Pony Boy. They ain't gonna hurt you no more. I know, I said. But the ground began to blur, and I felt hot tears running down my cheeks. I brushed them away impatiently. I'm just a little spooked, that's all. I drew a quivering breath and quit crying. You just don't cry in front of Derry. And not unless you're hurt like Johnny had been that day we found him in the vacant lot. Compared to Johnny, I wasn't hurt at all. Soda rubbed my hair. You're an okay kid, Pony. I had to grin at him. Soda can make you grin no matter what. I guess it's because he's always grinning so much himself. You're crazy, Soda. Out of your mind. Derry looked as if he'd like to knock our heads together. You're both nuts. Soda merely cocked one eyebrow, a trick he picked up from Two-Bit. It seems to run in the family. The cocking an eyebrows, we have that one eyebrow that sort of pops up.
Buzz Lightyear. I love the Buzz Lightyear one.
Derry stared at him for a second, then cracked a grin. Soda Pop isn't afraid of him like everyone else, enjoys teasing him. I'd just as soon tease a full-grown grizzly, but for some reason, Derry seems to like being teased by Soda. Our gang had chased the Socs back to their car and heaved rocks at him. They came running toward us now, 4 lean, hard guys. They were all as tough as nails and looked it. I'd grown up with them. They accepted me, even though I was younger, because I was Derry and Soda's kid brother. I kept my mouth shut good. Steve Randall was 17. tall and lean, with thick, greasy hair. He had kept combed in complicated swirls. He was cocky, smart, and Soda's best buddy since grade school. Steve's specialty was cars. He could lift a hubcap quicker and more quietly than anyone in the neighborhood. But he also knew cars upside down and backward, and he could drive anything on wheels. He and Soda worked at the same gas station. Steve part-time and Soda full-time, and their station got more customers than any other one in town. Whether that was because Soda was so good with cars, or because Soda attracted girls like honey draws flies, I couldn't tell you. I liked Steve only because he was Soda's best friend. He didn't like me. He thought I was a tag-along and a kid. Soda always took me with them when they went places they weren't taking girls, and that bugged Steve. It wasn't my fault. Soda always asked me. I didn't ask him. Soda doesn't think I'm a kid. Real quick when they're talking about lifting hubcaps. I'm not even sure you guys know what hubcaps are anymore. If you do...
Well, isn't that those huge drain things?
No, it's the thing that goes
Is this a movie? Is this a movie?
Oh, I know what that is.
Are we gonna watch the movie? Can we watch it?
Isn't back here somewhere?
It was. Now it's over here.
Can you watch it?
The hubcap looks like this. At one time, they were made of metal, and they were all fancy, and you would put them onto your cars, and that's sort of how you bragged to other people, and you'd have your big shiny hubcaps on your car. And then if you were a hoodlum and you wanted to make money, what you would do is you would find a car with shiny hubcaps, take a screwdriver, and if you were quick enough, you could pop them off, take them, and run away and steal them. By the way, what god would you have to pray to if you were doing that?
Hermes.
Nice one. You pray to Hermes
Oh,
for
where'd
the
you get
stealing
that from?
and the being quick. Nowadays, it does you no good because they're just made of plastic. This is one that I just found on the road when I was running for cross country one day, and I brought it back to use for the story. If you tried to steal hubcaps and make money now, people just laugh at you because they're like $1 at Walmart. But back in the day, they would be enough money and they were fancy enough that it was a big thing. So Steve steals them and then sells them to other kids. Yes, that makes Steve a criminal, but I don't think Steve cares. Steve is happy making poor
How much
choices.
money are they? Because I might need to
Done?
collect a metal
So
car.
maybe when they steal it, isn't it like
Yeah, I'm talking about that.
you know what I'm talking about?
There's National Lampoon's
Yeah, I
Vacation.
know.
Yeah. Seth.
Can we watch this movie like on the last day of school?
Let me see. Two-Bit Matthews was the oldest of the gang and the wisecracker of the bunch. He was about 6 feet tall, stocky in build, very proud of his long, rusty-colored sideburns. He had gray eyes and a wide grin, and he couldn't stop making funny remarks to save his life. You couldn't shut up that guy. He always had to get his 2 bits worth in, hence his name. Even his teachers forgot his real name was Keith, and we hardly remembered he had one. Life was one big joke to 2-Bit. He was famous for shoplifting and his black-handled switchblade, which he couldn't have acquired without his first talent. And he was always smarting off to the cops. He really couldn't help it. Everything he said was so irresistibly funny that he just had to let the police in on it to brighten up their dull lives. That's the way he explained it to me. He liked fights, blondes, and for some unfathomable reason, school. He was still a junior at 18 and a half, and he never learned anything. He just went for kicks. I liked him real well because he kept us laughing at ourselves, as well as at other things. He reminded me of Will Rogers. Maybe it was the grin. Will Rogers is a comedian from way back in the day. He dressed as a cowboy. Nowadays, I would say he's sort of the equivalent of Kevin Hart. The idea of that funny guy that everyone knows, and as soon as you hear the name, you know him for being that, as opposed to that kid who can't shut his mouth and keeps talking nonstop. That'd be a completely different kid.
That would be
Guys keep turning around and talking to
Well,
me.
then ignore him too.
I can't sit behind him.
They also talk about shoplifting. And do you know what shoplifting is?
When you take something but you don't pay for it.
Nicely done. And so the fact that 2-Bit is known for shoplifting quite a bit. And they talk about the fact that he shoplifted a black switchblade, which is going to play a big role in the story coming up.
Oh, he's gonna like use it to save
Switchblade is...
a pocket knife.
Yeah. If you're not sure, you've never seen one, I did bring one. If you guys can take a look.
No!
Oh my god!
I'm about to get shanked.
The way the switchblade works is it has a handle with a little spring-loaded bit to it, and you have a little blade in there, and then whenever you need to quickly shank somebody, you hit the button, blade pops out, you do a quick stabby, hit the button again, and it goes right back in. Yeah, you have to stop talking at some point, so I can still stop talking. Thank you. And so the way it works is the problem is with the little button is oftentimes boys would keep them in their pocket, and when you horse around and play with each other, they would kick each other, and then and so because that bad things would happen, so that and the fact that apparently the police didn't think it was necessary for you to have a quick reason to stab people, so they end up banning them. But they do have another type of switchblade, which instead of shooting straight out, is called a rainbow blade, which means it went around like this.
Is it on real?
It's real. So I can make believe comb
What
the
if we
hair I
make
don't
Mr.
have.
Robert bald?
And so the way this one would work, it was the same thing, but instead of shooting straight out, it sort of came around. And this one was safer because when you put it in your pocket, when your friend would kick you and the button would go off, it would sort of hit the side and not stab you, and thus kids didn't get hurt nearly as badly. The other one that doesn't show up in the story, but I have kids who ask about them, are the butterfly knives. The ones that have the two little handles to them, and then you flip. There you go.
I have one.
And that allows you to quick stabbing.
there's
Mine's
another
in
one.
case you get thirsty. But it's the same idea.
Can you do it like real fast? Like real fast?
And it's called the butterfly knife because it's supposed to look like butterfly wings when it's flying around. Those little flappy things.
Aren't they gonna use a ninja?
To have the actual butterfly knife, yeah, if you get picked up with one by the police, they definitely frown upon it because once again, there's no real need to have a big long knife that you can quickly open to stab people. Oddly enough, the police frown on those kind of things. Police. But in the story, they use them quite a bit because this is before police frowned on them. And it's like, oh, I've just got my pocket knife for stabbing people because it's just the thing you have to do. If I had to pick the real character of the gang, it'd be Dallas Winston. Dally. I used to like to draw his picture when he was in a dangerous mood, for then I could get his personality down in just a few lines. He had an elfish face with high cheekbones and a pointed chin, small, sharp animal teeth and ears like a lynx. His hair was almost white, it was so blonde. He didn't like haircuts or hair oil either, so it fell over his forehead in wisps and kicked out in the back in tufts and curled behind his ears and along the nape of his neck. His eyes were blue, blazing eyes, cold with a hatred of the whole world. Dally had spent 3 years on the wild side of New York and been arrested at the age of 10. He was tougher than the rest of us. Tougher, colder, meaner. The shade of difference that separates a greaser from a hood, it wasn't present in Dally. He was as wild as the boys in the downtown outfits, like Tim Shepard's gang. In New York, Dally blew off steam in gang fights, but here, organized gangs are rarities. They're just small bunches of friends who stick together. That's a bummer. And the warfare between the social classes. A rumble, when it's called, is usually born of a grudge fight, and the opponents just happen to bring their friends along. I mean, there are a few named gangs around out there, like the River Kings and the Tiber Street Tigers. But here in the Southwest, there's no gang rivalry. So Dally, even though he could get into a good fight sometimes, had no specific thing to hate. No rival gang. He just had the socials. And you can't win against them no matter how hard you try. Because they've got all the breaks, and even whipping them isn't going to change that fact. Maybe that's why Dallas was so bitter. He had quite a reputation. They have a file on him down at the police station. He'd been arrested, he got drunk, rode in rodeos, lied, cheated, stole, rolled drunks, jumped small kids. He did everything. I didn't like him, but he was smart and you had to respect him. Still ignoring you, not calling in? Good job, do it, figured it out. Just the thing I do to save Tyler? Yeah. When they're, yeah, that's why you keep making funny losing points because you can't figure out how to make good choices. Laying down. I got you, it's all right. And so when they talk about Dally, with the things that he does, one, they say that he rolls drunks. When you roll a drunk, it's when you go to a party and people get so inebriated and have so much alcohol that they pass out and fall down. You walk over to them and you roll them over and then you take their wallet. And that's what Dally does for fun. The other thing he does is he jumps small kids. We talked about jumping the other day when you have a group of your friends that beat up somebody. He doesn't beat up kids his own age. He does it to small kids. So kids a lot younger than him. Because Dally is a bit of a loser, which is why his name has L's in it, Dally for loser. His brother is the one that has R's in it. Derry and Dally, it's real easy to confuse them in the stories because their names look so similar to each other. But Derry, R's for brother, is the nice one. Dally, L for loser, is the one that's all scary and nasty and mean and beats up little kids and stuff like that. The next time we get together is going to be after spring break. The problem is I won't be here to teach you because I'll still be at Camp Tecumseh. So much like before, you're going to have a little video of me teaching. Although this one's going to be a bit more of me actually aiming it at you. You'll have my melodic voice and I'll read with you. But there is going to be a point where you have to be able to read on your own. Just like we do the Shadow Club, I can't read the book to you forever. The good news is when you read at home, there is an audiobook that you're welcome to do. Let's see how well we do putting away books.